It is a lovely Therapy Thursday. It's a lovely Therapy Thursday. It's a lovely Therapy Thursday. Come on into the room. Come on into the room. Bonne nuit. Good night. Good night. It's a lovely Therapy Thursday. You do not want to miss this because you could be saving your life or the life of somebody you love. Come on into the room. It is Therapy Thursday. Come in, like, share, subscribe, follow, all of those good things. You do not want to miss this. Good night, Havis. Sagafet. Share this live because this is very valuable information. More of us are suffering than we need to, and I want to teach you what to look out for. Heavy says Muela. Muela is Creole, Dominica Creole for I am here. I am right here. Come on into the room. So this is May of 2022, and this has been dubbed and designated Mental Health Awareness Month. And I want to, on today, May 19, which is kind of like a Take Action Day, offer my expertise and offer information so that you will know and your relatives will know and your loved ones will know if they are at risk, what to look out for, how to tell if it's time to seek help beyond the family. Okay, I'm Dr. Triffy. I'm a licensed psychologist in Atlanta, Georgia. This is the Transforming Trauma podcast. I show up on Thursdays as best I can to teach skills, to offer insight into how to think better, feel better, and do better. So tonight, I prepared a little bit of a slide to help me help you better. Okay. Welcome. Yeah. Oh, those of you who follow me, you already know who I am. I'm Dr. Triffy, like I said. I'll tell you a little bit more about what mental health is, what it looks like, how do you distinguish between mental health and mental wellness, and how you can get some support. Okay? I am Ma Josephine's daughter. Who's Ma Josephine? You haven't met her, but if you had met Ma Josephine, you would have loved Ma Josephine. Ma Josephine is a lady from Carthage in Dominica, not to be confused with the Dominican Republic, people. I am from Dominica. We speak English and a French-based Creole. We do not speak Spanish, okay? I am also the mother of two lovely children, 24 and 22, and the stepmother to three fabulous young men. All right. So I'm a licensed psychologist, which means I know what I'm talking about. Somebody thought I had earned their doctoral degree. Yeah. I'm also an advanced clinical hypnotherapist. What does a hypnotherapist do? A hypnotherapist teaches you or aids you or helps you to bypass your conscious mind, your conscious, very active thinking mind, to go into a deeper state of awareness so that you can access your deeper motivations, and so that you can get to a state of what is called suggestibility. That state of suggestibility is a place really where miracles happen. It's that kind of place because when we're in that sort of mental state, decisions we make are more likely to stick. Also, when you're in that mental state, your mind is clearer and more focused and more able to concentrate. And so many things your brain may be put away in storage, they bubble up to the surface. And it's easy to find the root of issues and behaviors and habits that might be causing you a lot of conscious trouble. Okay? So, for example, you might have said, hey, I want to stop smoking many times, and you were not able to stop because you were just making the decision up here. But if you can quiet down enough, you can get to that place in your mind where you can find the root, release it, set a new decision or many new decisions, and keep moving forward. Okay? I'm also a trauma recovery specialist. I help people heal. That's what that means. I'm a relational energy expert. What that means is I've learned how to use energy and to teach people how to use their masculine energy better and to use their feminine energy better. Every human being, all of us, have a masculine and feminine energy, but we can decide when and how to use it to our best interest. I'm also a Reiki master. What does that mean? That means I have learned how to use universal energy, which is what the universe and the planet is about. I've learned how to use that to help people heal. And I'm also an author. I have written 2 books that are available on Amazon. One is called Do It Now. It's a 7-step plan that teaches you how to beat bad habits and to fix bad habits that are blocking your success. Okay? And there's a workbook that goes along with that. Okay, so that's enough of the background about me. What is mental health? What is mental health? Now, you're familiar, I hope, with the World Health Organization. A lot of people call them WHO. Who done it? Okay? According to the World Health Organization, mental health is a state of well-being in which you, as an individual, you can realize your own abilities. When they say realize, they mean you can make that happen. You can use your abilities well to create the kind of life you want. Nothing is getting in your way. You can cope with the normal stresses of life, and it doesn't overwhelm you or overburden you to the point where your life gets impacted or your relationships get impacted or your work gets impacted. Okay? And you therefore can work productively to generate income for your family. And you can make a contribution to your whole community and to the society in general. So what that means is, if anything is in the way of you doing any of these tasks, your mental health, which tonight I'm going to call brain health, your brain health could be getting in the way. Okay? Now, I want to tell you why I say brain health versus mental health. I think we have stigmatized mental health. And when we hear mental health, when we hear those words, many of us, we shut down, our eyes glaze over, we start pointing the fingers to other people, and we say, oh, that person is crazy, or they're just not strong enough. Yeah, but me, I'm good like that, right? Unfortunately, it's not that simple. And for many people, the suffering comes because their brain is actually working in a way that is actually against them. So it works in a way that precludes them from achieving a lot of their goals, or it works in a way that their bodies feel a lot of suffering. Okay, there are different categories of mental health. Therefore, you might be good, you might be feeling okay in three of these categories, but in one area, it just doesn't feel right. So these are the categories you want to start thinking about. What is my emotional health like? How am I feeling in my body? Your emotions, your feelings. Okay? We'll talk a little bit more about feelings in a sec, right? Psychological is another category. What is your thought life like? What are you thinking more often than not? Are you thinking thoughts that feel hopeful? Or are you thinking in a more pessimistic way? Like, man, good things never happen for me. Or I will never get this done. Or this is too much for me. Or people generally don't like me. People just don't like me. Because of those kinds of thoughts, you might then make choices that work against you and that work against your relationship, that cause arguments on your job, that cause you to get arrested because you might fight with people when really maybe you were not, it didn't call for all of that. Or you might lose friendships because you couldn't negotiate, come to a compromise. You might lose a whole marriage. You might lose your children. You might lose your family. You also have a category of social. These behaviors, how does that impact my social life? Again, when you think about social, think about community. Are you getting arrested? Are you able to maintain your job? Are you arguing with people for no reason? And therefore, people are looking at you on the side like, stay away from that person. And then you feel terrible because you tell yourself, well, I just can't keep friends. And then you have the category of spiritual. Spiritual is important because we're mind, we're body, and we're spirit. And even if you do not ascribe or whatever word you want to use for that, you don't believe in a higher power, still we are spiritual beings. Many of us have what's called existential issues. Look, these are the bigger questions of life where, hey, why am I here? What is my purpose? Why was I born? I don't even know why I'm going through all of this struggle in my life. That's a big question that causes us to question, is there a God? Does God love me? Is there, okay, I don't believe in God, but is there a higher force than me? And how do I access that? How do I stay connected to that? Am I feeling connected to that source? For some of us, that source is actually the highest version of ourselves. Okay? So these are the categories you want to think about. And again, even if you have three of these categories working and one is not, what's going to happen? You're going to feel pain. You're going to feel emotional pain, psychological pain, spiritual pain. And that's going to get in the way of how effective you can be as a human being. Okay? So, what are the factors that affect people's mental health? What causes all of these problems? What causes these problems? The biggest one, in my opinion, I always like to start with the biology of things because this is something a person cannot help. This is something many people cannot help. Each person has their own brain. So the same way my hands are like this and my fingers are shaped in a certain way, it's the same, my brain is not the same as yours. or my sisters or my child. It's a different brain because no brain is a carbon copy of the other one. So what does that mean? That means that the way the neurotransmitters are working in my brain must be different than the way they are working in your brain or your child's brain. We are individual. And just the same way as we have heart health, or we have internal medicine, or we have eye health, we go to the eye doctor, we go to the ENT specialist sometimes. Sometimes you go to the podiatrist because you have a corn or a bunion on your foot. It's the same thing for your brain. Okay? Another big category of factors that affect your mental health are your life experiences. What you have been through in your life. Traumatic events. Life changes. What's a traumatic event? Trauma is any situation you experience where you thought or felt as if you did not have enough to handle that situation. What you were feeling was so big, it was too much. So it weighed you down so heavily, it was hard for you to get up and go to work. Or you started becoming or feeling so anxious or afraid after you heard about somebody breaking and entering into your neighbor's house that you couldn't go to sleep properly for months and months and months and months. Or you were in a relationship with someone and they left without communicating to you well enough why they were leaving. Or even if they communicated with you well enough, your heart was still connected to them and you were not ready for them to leave. So you stayed in a place of hurt. Yeah? That's a traumatic event for you. Your wife died all of a sudden. When we lose people, depending on the way we lose them, the suddenness of the death, the how expected was it? Was it a situation where I had 2 years to plan, to prepare, to process my feelings? Oh my God, yes, they're really leaving. Or was it a sudden death, which is more likely to be a traumatic event for you? Okay? And then you have family background. So family background and family history, I will look at it in two areas for you. Anybody who comes to a mental health professional must do what's called an initial diagnostic assessment. It's just an initial evaluation. Like when you go to your medical doctor, they take out their books or their computers these days and they ask you, where were you born? What's your life been like? What was the first time you felt this? They get your history and they get your background. So in mental health, what we do is we ask you, who raised you? Who did you grow up with? What did you feel your childhood to be like? Was it a happy childhood for you? Was there something you might have changed? Even before your childhood, we ask you questions like, was your mother's pregnancy with you normal or not? What does that mean? Well, what if your mother's pregnancy was very painful for her? By the time you were born, your mother might actually be so overwhelmed that she might not have connected to you very well. Or she might have suffered postpartum depression and did not connect with you very well. And so now, who knows? You might have trouble attaching to people very well because you didn't really get that imprinting. Okay? Another area where family history becomes important is, are there any other people in your genealogy on your mother's side or your father's side who have symptoms that the family felt were, that's not usual, that's not ordinary. Now, for if I'm speaking to, say, Caribbean people, I must admit that we did not grow up with a big understanding of mental health. I think very often families or the community might say they put something on this person, or that they give that person something. When they said that, what they were saying was this person ingested a substance that made them lose their brain, lose their mind. Or they might say this is a spiritual problem where they put an evil spirit on this person. That's why now they have mental health problems. Now, I'm not here to say that's good or bad. It's a cultural thing. I'm saying to you that if you are of Caribbean origin or of any culture where that is commonly used to explain mental health, now is the time to take your person or to take yourself to a mental health professional. If at any time you have heard from family or friends that somebody put something on you, I'm encouraging you today to go to get a mental health evaluation. Just because in many cultures we put mental health with the spiritual and the darker side of the spiritual. Okay? But what that means is you or your relative who's suffering, the only cure we offer is a spiritual cure. But if it's a brain issue, I don't care if you pray from here until kingdom come, you're going to suffer. If it's a brain issue, I don't care how many spirits they put on you. If it's a brain issue, find a mental health professional to describe what you're feeling and thinking about. This is what I mean when I say you have been warned. If you have a little niece, a little cousin, a little friend who you hear the other people in the community say they put something on her, please encourage the family to take the child to a mental health professional. Why? Because sometimes the cure is just prescribed medication. One problem we have is we wait too long to address it. And when you wait too long, the symptoms morph into bigger problems. So I'm encouraging you not to wait too long. If you have a relative you hear talking strange, who suddenly becomes very, very, very focused on the Bible, on religious ideas, or who suddenly starts feeling very afraid and they start not trusting people. So they start telling you things like, that person is talking about me a lot. This person doesn't like me. This person watches me on the side. All of a sudden, they've started saying these things. If that goes on for too long, to me, too long is a good, like 90 days. And if this is out of your person's character, it is time for an appointment with a mental health professional. Because yes, you or your person might be correct. Maybe people are watching them on the side all of a sudden. But how likely is it that people just start watching you on the side when you haven't done anything different? Now, in families, these kinds of symptoms can be hard for us to identify because in the beginning, you love your family member and you think, oh, what? I need to go to bat for my family member. Let me find out who's talking about you. Let me find out who's watching you on the side. Let me find out why you're not trusting people all of a sudden. And it takes us a little while until we start realizing, well, two and two are not adding up. Okay? So, family history is important. If there's anybody on your mother's side or your father's side who perhaps was very reclusive, when I say that, I mean they just liked to stay by themselves, alone. They did not want to mix with other people. That's an example of social problems, okay? That person is having difficulty socializing with other people. There might be mental health issues going on. If you have a person who is always in a physical fight, or they're always arguing with other people, or before you speak to them, they start yelling at you, there might be a mental health condition associated. So what we tend to do in many families is we'll say, oh, this person, they're just so bad. They're just so rough. They're just so mean. Maybe that's what it is, but maybe not. You have a person who doesn't seem to want to work much. Our first response might be, they're so lazy. It is possible that they're being lazy, but it's also possible they do not have the energy to get up and go do like everybody else. That is out of the ordinary. And what you do, if it goes on for too long, look, there are some diagnoses where if you see it for more than 2 weeks, if you see certain symptoms for more than 2 weeks, that means go to a mental health professional. Again, I say, when it's our real family, we can say a lot to get through it. Like we think, oh, they'll get over it. They'll get over it. It's just a phase. But if that phase, I'm serious, is going beyond 90 days, it's time. 3 months, that's enough of your person terrified, they don't want to leave the house. Okay? All right. These are the early warning signs. These are some very common early warning signs. And I'm talking to you, and I'm asking you also to look out for your family. Look out for the circle close to you. Okay? If a person or you're feeling hopeless, like, what's the point with this life? Excessively sad. Excessively sad is you don't really have a reason to be sad. Nobody close to you died. What else might make you sad? You didn't have a big loss. You didn't lose your job, or you didn't lose your relationship. Those things you can kind of expect a person to be feeling sad. But if you're just feeling sad with no real reason, you're crying with no real reason, you're tearful with no real reason, you're feeling helpless, like, oh, I can't. That's a very important early warning sign. Another one is mood swings, but not just a little mood swing. I mean severe. 1 minute you're happy, like very happy. The next minute you're crying. And there are some people who are like that. 1 minute they have no energy. The next minute they're cleaning the whole house. And then they're back down. They've crashed. And they're sleeping for 3 days. And then they're up again. Those are too severe differences in mood. It's too much. The swinging back and forth is too much. That's problematic, potentially. If the person, like I said earlier, has no energy, or you are feeling just lege, is the word in Dominica, just drained for too long, Or the opposite, where you're feeling frenzied, you go, 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 and you can't stop, can't stop, can't stop. If you're eating too much, if you're sleeping too much, if you're drinking too much alcohol, there could be a problem here. If you're pulling away from things you normally like to do, like your usual activities, you don't have the energy, you don't even have the taste for it anymore, that's potentially a warning sign. If you're feeling numb, what does numb mean? Numb means no feeling, I don't care. One way or the other, I don't care. Or if you're feeling highly anxious in your body, what does anxiety feel like in the body? Think about when you had to give a speech, or you had to stand up in church and read, and you were like, oh my God, oh my God. Imagine feeling this way almost all the time, or more often than not. That's what high anxiety feels like in people's bodies. Your heart is beating fast. You might even be sweating. Some people pass out. Or you're feeling very afraid. Or you have these thoughts where you're just worried about things that you don't even know if they'll ever come to pass. So you're worried, is the world going to end? You're worried, am I going to get sick? My kid's going to get sick. If you're having pains in your body that you cannot explain, some of us, that's what our mental health issues do to our bodies. Okay, it's psychosomatic. It becomes, it manifests itself in our bodies. And if you get to ever thinking about hurting yourself in any way, like I should cut myself, or I should burn myself, there are people who do this. Or I should cut somebody else, or I should burn somebody else, or choke somebody else, or I should just kill myself because what I'm feeling inside is too much for me to bear. It's time to speak to a mental health professional. It is always time to speak to a mental health professional if you're thinking of hurting yourself or somebody else. Or if you're afraid of things and people for no reason. Or at least you might think it's a reason, but people around you are telling you they're not seeing what you're afraid about or what you're afraid of. Or you might be hearing people talking and just noise in your head, and other people around you are telling you, but there's nobody there. Or no, I didn't call you. Or you might be seeing stuff. You're seeing people standing. You're seeing things happening, and other people are telling you, no, they're not. Now, I know, again, having grown up in the Caribbean, we might say the person is gifted and they're seeing visions. I get that. But the God you believe in, and I think most of us and many of us believe in, is a God of order. So if said visions are causing the person to feel confused, something is off with those visions. Okay? If those visions are getting in the way of the person being able to work or maintain their relationship or make money, something is off with that. Okay? So I would encourage you to use that as a little gauge if you're thinking, oh my, are they just seeing spirits? Which, again, for us is cultural. If they're seeing spirits and they're fine, it doesn't impact them in a negative way, there's nothing to see there. There's no problem. But if it's getting in their way, you've got a problem. Okay? Now, that's all the negative pieces of mental health, like, hey, you need help. You need to get somebody to help you make it through this, or you need to get somebody to help your child make it through this. Something I wanted to talk a little bit about is academic problems in school. If your child is having trouble in school, they're just not passing, their exams. They can't seem to read, and they're old enough and they've gone to, all of the grades. You've done your best, but they can't seem to read, or math is just beating them up no matter how much foundation they got. These are potential learning problems. These are potential learning problems. And if you catch it early enough through testing, through psychological testing, the school might actually be able to come up with a plan to support your child. Now, there's academic and learning problems, but there's also behavior problems. Your child might be what the teacher says acting out, like they don't want to sit when they're told to sit, they're running around, they're disturbing, they seem to be causing a disturbance in the class, or they keep forgetting their homework. Even when you give them the homework, they're forgetting to turn it in. That could be a potential psychological issue. And you want to talk to a mental health professional early o'clock so your child can get the support they need early. Because the earlier the intervention, the better the outcome for your child. So instead of saying, "What's wrong with you? Whoop, 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 whoop," and beating your child up for forgetting to turn in the homework that you helped them with last night, you might want to talk to a mental health professional, because your child might actually have a learning challenge and they're not just being mean to you, or they don't want you to succeed. A lot of us parents, we take it personally when our kids are not doing well. But it might not be your child's actually trying to not do well. There might be brain issues, okay? And there might be learning challenges that if you find out early enough, you as the parent can work with your child to create a plan to support their progress long term. There might be other skills you have to teach them to balance them out, to hold them up, okay? Now, positive mental health, hey, you're able to work productively. You can work, you can keep a job. That's it. You can keep a job. You can make your money. Why is that important? If you don't make your money, you can't pay your bills. You can't live your life. It's as simple as that. Okay? You ought to be able to maintain healthy relationships. There's some people, y'all, and I know you know them, and you might be the person I'm talking to. Everywhere you go, it seems to you as if people are always against you. And it's hard for you to connect to people. It might not be the people. It might be something about the way your brain is working. Okay? There are some people who cannot maintain a job because they will argue with the boss regardless of where they go. That is suggestive of a mental health issue, because most of us want to be able to make our money and work and provide. So if you cannot hold your tongue long enough till the end of the day, and you're going to be fighting with every supervisor you ever come across, it's not the supervisor. And it's not that you're a bad person necessarily. You might be making these poor choices because of your brain health. Okay? The next thing is positive mental health is associated with your ability to contribute to your community. You can do good for other people. You can cope with life stress. When stuff comes, yes, it knocks you down for a little while, but you can pick yourself back up. And you're not just flat on your butt like forever, okay? Or for 5 years. It's too long to be on your butt. And you're able, most of all, to do what you came to the earth to do. This life we live is going to end. People, it's going to end. There's an end point for all of us. So, why did you come? Why are you here? Why are you alive still? Why does the earth need you still? This is important. Because many people, when we don't fulfill our purpose, we feel a sense of uselessness or a sense of like, I'm missing something, something is off. Or when we have these dreams that we haven't accomplished yet, it can leave a lot of pain in our bodies. So you might want to talk to someone to help you clarify your goals. So mental health can be as small as that, little bit as that, to a person who is having suicidal thoughts. Okay? How do you maintain good mental health? I'm putting get professional help right up there. Right up there. Because there are people who are trained, and they are so well trained that after talking to you for 45 minutes can tell you exactly what is going on. There are some people who are so well trained, they can tell you exactly what's happening with you in 45 minutes. And they can even give you a plan of action of what to do next. You might be missing out. You might be just struggling alone. For what? For whom? Why? It's not necessary anymore to suffer this way. It's not. If it's at the beginning stages, you can learn how to stay positive. Now, there's some of us, we're positive, right? Like no matter what happens, we're positive. That has a little ring of fakery to it, okay? Because you're a real human being. But still, we must learn how to change negative thoughts into positive, hopeful thoughts, because some of us, we lean into the pessimism too much. And it's almost like we can't see light. We can't see how to create success. And that just burdens us. You want to get enough sleep. If you're not sleeping enough, you're putting yourself in a dangerous position. There's some people who become delirious. What does that mean, delirious? They're confused. Confused from not getting enough sleep. You start messing up the way you can think through things or generate solutions, solve your problems if you're not getting enough sleep. You also want to develop coping skills. What are coping skills? What's a coping skill? A coping skill is a way to cope. It's a way to manage. When I'm feeling sad, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, what do I do? What do I do? There are things you can do. There's so many strategies out there. If you talk to a mental health professional, they'll give you a plan of action. Another big way is to get physically active. Walk around, do things. I talk a lot about behavioral activation. Even if your body and your mind is sometimes telling you, no, I can't, I don't want to get up. Actually, it's in your best interest to get up and do something, even if it's a little bit of that something, and even if it's for a short time. Okay? So, as I wrap up this, like I said, for me is an offering for Mental Health Awareness Month, where I really want to encourage you. I can't tell you how strongly I want to encourage you. If anything I've said here tonight makes sense in your life, in your body, or you can see it in somebody around you, ask for help wherever you are. Right now, you can contact me. I'm only seeing people for hypnotherapy, and I'm not seeing many people yet. Okay? I'm only seeing people for hypnotherapy and sound healing sessions. If you want to learn more, email me, go to my website, send me an email from the website, or contact me on Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger or LinkedIn Messenger, whatever that is. Okay, there's so many ways to contact people right now. Okay, So if I spoke to you tonight, or I spoke to you about somebody you can identify, hey, reach out and ask for help. We're really not meant to walk through life alone. I don't think so. I don't think so. So you heard me tonight. Um, if I'm talking to you, you don't need to suffer alone. Okay? If I'm talking to you about your child, you don't need to be a super mom or a super dad. We're not supposed to know everything. I'm smart, but I promise I am so, I'm not going to say stupid about many things, but not because I don't use the word stupid, but I'm so uninformed about so many things. So, like, come on. You can try to figure it out all alone, but there really is no need. Why? Because there are people, like I said, who within 45 minutes, will tell you exactly what's going on, and this is what you need to do. Okay? So, my people, it is 7:46. I have a little bit of a treat for you, so you all see. I have this Spark Happiness little box of ideas I got. Good night, Petra. Good night, Valder. Good night, Avis and Joyce. And it comes with these little matchsticks, or they look like matchsticks, and you just pull one up and get a little happiness idea. So here's the happiness idea. I'm going to do this and see what I get. All right, for today. Today's happiness idea is write a note by hand and personally deliver it. Is there somebody you need to say thank you to, or I love you to, or hey, I've been thinking about you to? Write a note and personally deliver it by hand. Or when was the last time you sent a card to somebody? When was the last time you sent a card or a handwritten letter to someone? I can't remember the last time I sent a handwritten letter. You might get some joy out of that. So that's your happiness spark for tonight. Again, if you have any questions about what to do, I'm not seeing any individual clients for like talk therapy right now, but send me a question still. I might be able to direct you to who you can go talk to. Okay? This is so important because I think we wait so long sometimes that the situation becomes bigger than it needs to be. And I think if we start treating brain health like our physical health, the rest of our body, and that will give us, I think, maybe a stronger voice speaking up for our family members, or friends, or kids who might be experiencing those challenges. Because what if they're afraid to tell us because they think we might tell them they're stupid, or they're silly, or that doesn't make sense, or you're lazy, that's nonsense. So what if you, as the adult, made a decision to initiate the conversation with your children? Hey, I just listened to this thing about brain health. How do you think your brain is doing based on this? Are you feeling sadder than, you think you should? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling anxious? Are you afraid of anything? Did something terrible happen and you haven't had the opportunity, or you don't know how to tell me? I'm going to talk about this because I saw this recently in the consciousness, let's say. For children, how often have you ever asked your child if someone has touched them in a way that made them feel uncomfortable? Have you ever asked that question of your child or of your niece or of your nephew? I'm emphasizing on the nephew because very often people will assume that girl children are the ones who are getting touched inappropriately, forgetting that boys of a certain age and stature are also as helpless and are also being taken advantage of by older people. And these kinds of experiences are among the most negatively impactful traumatic events for young people. And that if an adult makes that kind of approach to a human being under 18, everywhere on the planet, that ought to be illegal. But for sure, we know it's illegal in our neck of the woods. And if an adult makes that kind of approach to a minor, that adult already knows they were wrong and did it anyway. That means they broke a law. They also broke a moral code. That means that the community, especially the legal community, must stand up for that minor child. So if you are the perpetrator is a big word. If you are the one doing the wrong, the illegal action by soliciting touch and gratification from minor children, you are out of order. And if the legal system around you does not hold you to account, the legal system is out of order. And if the community around the legal system does not hold the legal system to account, the community is out of order. So it's interconnected. It's not just, well, they don't want to do anything about it. They meaning the legal system is not doing anything about it. I'm talking to people from mon ka pale pou Jean Dominique paske mon tano kalite bagay, mon vwe kalite bagay asi Facebook ve kalite bagay sa la suggested ki on gwan om ka try pou pale avon zanfan. On gwan om. Now that word in psychology is called grooming, where adult women groom young men and adult men groom young women, young girls. Pou bagay zafè an viol for the Creole speakers. Moun sa la out of order. Eve si police pa ka fè anyen kont sa, the whole community oblige du bout eve pale. Eve di sa pa bon, sa pa correct, that's illegal, out of order. E mwen ka kontinue pale an Creole pou sa, paske mwen men monte 6 an, le yon nom eseye manye mwen out of order. Eve si mama mwen pate, zowe li pate ouve, if I didn't have a mother who was very attentive, pitet nom sa la teke fe mwen sa on pil nom ka fe ti fi. And I'm speaking to the Dominica audience right now in Creole. I want you to copy and paste, tag your Dominica friend to ask them to translate. But this is so egregious. It's so egregious. And my only advice to the parents of this minor child, if this action is true, is to legally pursue it, because when we don't, that child is going to grow up at some point. That child is going to grow up at some point. What is that child going to say about my family? Was my family there for me when I needed them to be? Or did my family leave me exposed? Did my family leave me exposed to other adults to take advantage of me? Those things are traumatic events, and they really work a number on people's mental health. I've had people reach out to me and share some really painful things that have happened in their childhood. I think we have to, as adults, look out better for our kids and for our neighbors' children. For our neighbors' children. So that's all I'm going to say about that tonight. I'm going to end by saying that if I spoke to you when I described any of these symptoms, or if I spoke to you about somebody you know, we are in community, meaning I look out for you and you look out for me. When we use that approach, the whole community moves faster and further ahead if we have more eyes looking out for each other. What you don't want to happen is to look at that little boy who was fighting in school every day and nobody really took the next step to get him the mental health support he needed. We don't want you to be still castigating him at 21 when he gets arrested, because maybe the community dropped the bag. Maybe the community didn't step in and support and help enough. And I promise you, there are people who are trained to do this work, like your mechanic is trained to fix your car. We know how to do this, and we've been doing it for a long time. Okay? And above all, si zo konet ini nom Dominique ki ka enviole ti fi ebe ti gason, se le pou zo mette tout moun asi blast, mette yo ala oui pou se bagay sa fini. I listened to a statistic yesterday from a doctor who said that Dominique c'est numéro uno eve Jamaïque eve bagay en viol. It's time to stop it because it is too detrimental to the health and the mental well-being of the people who experience these traumatic events. And if your legal system on the island is not pulling their weight, c'est là pour moun commencer doubout douvan legal system, eve mette l'argent ensemble, eve hire avocat pour détruire moun qui ka try pour détruire enfants. Even if the person who is trying to détruire your child say papa's enfant là, papa's enfant sa supposé souffrir. Like, it's time for this stuff to be addressed. If you are a child, if I'm talking and you're on Facebook and you're below 18 and you feel harassed, afraid, overwhelmed, you don't know who to turn to, listen to me. Talk to a teacher, talk to a nurse, talk to a doctor. Just tell your mom or your whomever you're living with, I need to go to the doctor. And please let the doctor know what's happening. Okay? So, this is my offering for tonight's Therapy Thursday. I am very appreciative to all of you who tune in to this Transforming Trauma podcast. This is May. By the end of May, if you've never talked to a therapist, never talked to a counselor, you might want to go to even just your general practitioner, your primary care physician, and say, "Hey, doc, I've never had a mental health screening. I heard this doctor talking about a mental health screening. I always get a checkup every year. I want to do a little bit of a screening for my mental health. Do you have anything you can ask me to find out?" They have, they will, they do. Okay? And just find out what's going on up here so you can create the life you want. All right? Okay. Thank you all so much for sharing and joining me. I know tonight I talked a lot, just me, but it's okay. I can't wait to hear your questions. Type them in the chat if you got a question for me. Let me know what you thought about tonight's offering. And let me know if there are other topics you'd love for me to address on Thursdays when I do the Transforming Trauma podcast. I really appreciate you for showing up. Okay? All right. Peace, y'all.